I'm Natasha Chilingarian.
I'm Michael Ogden. This is Shared Accounts with CU Times. This week, we are a podcast looking for clarity in the regulatory chaos fog that's hanging over Washington, D.C. At the time of this recording, we could actually learn this week if the credit union tax exempt status is included in budget negotiations. No idea. It's kind of maybe not. I don't know. But I want to call out really quick, Natasha, with you. We did a poll on LinkedIn recently. We asked readers if they think
Yep.
NCUA should be independent like, the other regulators, and should they be reporting to the executive branch after President Trump signed an executive order that said as much. Now, we had a great poll. 290 people voted, and I looked at everybody who voted, and all but 3 people were actual credit union executives or employees. The other 3 were like fintech vendor types and whatever. But the results, 82% voted no, 18% voted yes. Natasha, I'm curious. And somebody asked in the comments, why would 18% want the NCUA to report to the president? I have no idea what good this
I think that's really strange. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like, and was it like a real response or was it like a joke response or something? I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but
I don't think
yeah, who are
so.
these people and what's the reason? I wonder if, or maybe were they
Mhm.
the tech vendors maybe that would want that to happen for some reason to benefit them?
No, because
Or
again, I
no?
looked at everybody who voted just to kinda
Oh, okay.
I didn't want it to be this, like, weird,
Yeah.
spammy
Right.
vote of people. I wanted to legit make sure the people from the industry were voting, and no,
Yeah.
these were
Yeah.
industry people.
Interesting, yeah. I would invite them to explain that, honestly. I'd be really curious, like, what their line of thinking is and why would it benefit them as a credit union?
Exactly. Let's start the show like this. Okay, 18% who voted yes, please come on the show. Everybody else,
Please.
welcome to Shared Accounts with CU Times. Coming up, it is spring break, I think, and we'll be chatting with Lee Morgan. What a guy. He is president and CEO
Mhm.
of PenAir Credit Union down in Pensacola, Florida. My goodness, he was nice.
I
I
know.
loved him so much, and I know I like a lot of people that join us on here. This dude's demeanor was just so perfect, I think. Just what a
Yep,
guy. Anyway, we'll
absolutely.
get into that here in a little bit. But first up, like always, we have to take a break from this insanity week with Natasha. Hey,
Hey, hey, Em, how's it
how you
going?
doing?
I'm doing not bad, not bad. How
I'm
about you?
doing
Yeah,
not bad. I'm okay. I've had
okay.
this stupid cold for a while, and it's
Oh,
just kinda hanging
yeah.
on.
You had to go to GAC with that, didn't you? And
Well, it was just
power
kinda like,
through? Yeah.
yeah, I wore a mask on the plane and all of that. I shook
Mhm.
no one's hand at
Smart.
GAC. I just kind of
Kind of
bumped
you, yeah.
elbows. And,
Right.
yeah, a handful of people did say, "Oh, thank you so much for not shaking my hand." I'm like, "Hey, no problem. I don't like spreading this
Right.
stuff around."
Well, I'm sure they were exposed to plenty of other germs and, anyway, so
Anyway, I
if they
just
got
wanted
sick, at
to
least they know it's not your fault.
yeah, I just wanted to go away at this point.
Yeah, ugh,
But
yeah,
let's
yeah.
get into it. What have you been watching?
Well, yeah, I did watch a few movies, but I think
Mhm.
what I need to bring up this week, because I think at least twice or 3 times before, I have brought up the bald eagle nest cams, of course,
Oh,
that I
yeah.
watch,
Mhm.
and so I did wanna take this time to give another update on that. Hopefully,
Okay.
people don't find it boring, I don't know. I've heard that some people
No,
like hearing about it, so
if I could briefly interrupt you, people
yeah.
at GAC did tell me, 1, they listen to
Yeah.
the podcast, enjoys. 2, one person 1 or 2 did say specifically your comments about the Eagles, that they do
Oh,
like it.
really?
Yeah,
Oh. Oh,
so
yay. I love
please
that, okay.
go right
Yes,
ahead.
okay, well, then I will keep going with it. So, this past week, I would say it's probably, like, the biggest, most exciting week for people that are watching these cams for a while because
Yeah.
so the bald eagle pair in Big Bear, California, which is close to where I live, they're the bald eagle couple that first got me into the whole thing, the first ones
Mhm.
I discovered, Jackie and Shadow. Well, because last year they laid 3 eggs, but none of them hatched at all.
Mhm.
So everyone was really like, "Oh," it was really sad. This year they laid 3 eggs again, and I think I've mentioned before, I was like, "Oh boy, like, ugh, probably gonna what if it's a repeat of
Mhm.
last year?" I'm not gonna get my hopes up because I don't
Yeah.
like, in general, I don't I kind of, assume the worst is gonna happen, and then if something good happens and it's like, "Oh," it's like a nice surprise, but I'm at that moment. I think I'm
Mhm.
not as optimistic as our guest, Lee, let's put it that way. He's like
Okay.
you'll hear later in the interview, he's so
Yeah.
optimistic. Anyway, no, so they all hatched this past week, so we have
Oh,
3.
incredible.
Yeah, yeah. So they started, it was a little over a week ago. The first, so 2 of them started like hatching. It started like a pip was noticed, and a pip is what they call a just a little crack in the egg, like the first crack that the chick makes with it,
Mhm.
not even with its beak. It has an egg tooth, like a thing that falls off later after it's born, like a little sharp thing they
Oh,
use to poke out.
okay.
Yeah, so 2 of them, they hatched, like, 4 hours apart, the first 2. We were so happy with that. I was like, "Oh."
Mhm.
And I'm thinking, 2 is fine. Let's just leave it at 2 because if there's a 3rd, it's kinda like the chances of survival are not great for all
Yeah.
3 because 'cause they're all competing for food and,
Sure.
but no, the 3rd one did hatch, like, 4 days later, and so we're like,
Mhm.
"Alright, I guess we're watching 3 now." Yeah, it's been so sweet. The parents are taking great care of them, feeding them
Great.
well, but one thing about it is that, and I would say this for anyone that maybe started watching recently, like, just keep in mind it's not a fairy tale. Try not to get too attached to them because it is not uncommon for
Yeah.
one of them to not make it for some reason, bad
Sure.
weather or
Yeah.
eating something bad or for whatever,
Mhm.
falling out, being blown out of the nest by the wind. So
Yeah.
anyway, it's just you got to have that reality check, but for now, just enjoying it and watching them, and yeah, they are
Awesome.
doing well, and yeah, it's very exciting, so anyone who doesn't know about it and is
Yeah.
interested, to now's the time to tune in.
Yeah, we'll put the link in the show notes, but you got Jim Duplessis, our
I did.
economics reporter, hooked on it as well. And we
I
use
did.
Slack as a team to talk, with Zach, Jim, Peter. Well, Peter doesn't use it so much, but whatever. But Jim, the other morning, I was saying whatever, and he just slacked to both of us hatching. I didn't know
I
what
know,
the
that was
hell he
really
was
cute.
talking about. And it wasn't until you came on that, oh, it's the Eagles. So he
Yeah,
was watching it
yeah,
live.
and then he sent us, I think yesterday morning, like, a nice
Mhm,
screenshot of
mhm.
the family eating
Yeah,
breakfast. So,
it's
yeah, it
cute.
sounds like we got him hooked. I love that. I love getting other people, hooked on it, as long as they know the disclaimer.
Right.
Remember, it's not a Disney movie. It's not,
Mhm.
and
Nature's a
it's not even like one
killer.
of those nature shows. Because when you watch a nature show, they'll show you a good ending. You know
Well,
what I mean?
sure.
Like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that'll be like following a creature
Mhm,
on its
mm,
journey, and you're like, "Oh, no, I hope nothing bad happens," but
right.
it always ends well. They're not gonna be like, "Yeah, and it died," and they're like, they wouldn't do that, but on these, that can very well happen because it is real life you're watching. So,
Alright. Very good.
anyway, we are all hoping for the best. We are all, like, keeping good thoughts and praying
100%.
for good
Of
weather
course.
and stuff like that. So, anyway,
Sure.
that was what consumed
Okay.
me. Yeah,
That's
what
fun.
about you? Any fun movies, this past week? Like,
I've watched a
yeah,
bunch
okay.
because I was sick for a bit,
Oh,
like,
yeah, great time to
sick
watch
enough
movies.
to, like, I'm not moving. But I will mention one movie I rewatched, hadn't seen it since the '90s, late '90s, directed by Michael Mann, called The Insider. It
Hmm.
was a true-ish, well, it's a true story, but the film's not 100% true. But it's about the guy, Jeffrey Wigand, who was a whistleblower on the tobacco industry about the extra chemicals Big
Oh,
Tobacco was putting into cigarettes, and went on 60 Minutes and all of that. It's a whole story about that.
oh,
And it's Al Pacino is the producer for 60
mhm.
Minutes. Russell Crowe plays Jeffrey Wigand. But my takeaway of the whole thing, great movie. I mean, really, really good movie. And the main takeaway was, oh, I miss the 90s and how awesome the travel and expense budgets were back then. Because
Oh, like
they're
like at
traveling.
newspapers, you mean? Like
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
journalists?
Just
Yeah,
being a
yeah,
dumb reporter. They were all
yeah,
over the damn place, and I was like, "That's incredible, the expenses that
yeah.
they have available in the '90s."
Oh, yeah. That's a good point.
It was heartwarming and depressing.
Not only that, but, like, just the fact that there were a lot of people being employed at newspapers and,
Oh,
they probably
abs
just focused on one small
absolutely.
thing, like, each person
Yeah.
had, like, a small beat that they focused on fully instead of like,
Mhm.
"Oh, we got 3 people that have to do everything," or
Yeah.
so, yeah, those were probably really good times to
Yeah.
be working in that
It was.
industry.
I
Yeah,
have a
and
bit of a memory of working in that in the '90s, but
oh, that's right.
anyway, The Insider, good movie.
Okay,
Watch it.
okay. Yeah. Nice. That sounds
All right.
fun. All right. Well, let's move on to our interview here. So, like you mentioned, Lee was awesome. I agree. I think
Mhm.
he, oh, just a joy to speak with. He just
Oh,
has this
yeah.
calming presence. It sounds like that comes from him just being super experienced because he's been in credit unions. He's been at like 6 different credit unions as either a CEO or in a C suite position since the
Mhm.
90s. And so, a few things that stood out to me, I'm just going to kind of rattle off here. So he takes us back through his career, early days, how he got into credit unions. He
Mhm.
actually got his very first credit union CEO job at an age, I'm not going to say what age it was, but he was too young to rent a car. Yeah,
I know.
believe it or not, it is
Yeah.
super impressive. Another thing he got into that I thought was interesting is so his credit union, PenAir Credit Union, they recently converted over to a state charter and talked
Mhm.
about kind of the process with that. He actually said he stood up in front of the members for at least 2 hours answering all their questions and concerns about the
Mhm.
change. And I was thinking, well, that's a really good example of really connecting with members from a
Yeah,
CEO.
bravo.
Yeah, really awesome. And then finally, just kind of going back to his calming presence, we brought up what's been happening in the industry this year so far, coming from the current administration, how chaotic
Mhm.
that is. One of the first things he said is, well, I see chaos as opportunity. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, that is really impressive. And just kind of talked about how he's really focusing on preparing for just kind of any outcome and any scenario. And it sounds like he's
Mhm.
got a great handle on it. So
He does.
I think we can all learn something from him.
Yep.
So, yes, lots of fun we
Mhm.
had with Lee.
Yep.
So, let's get into all of it. It's all coming up next. Joining us in the virtual studio today is Lee Morgan, President CEO of PenAir Credit Union in Pensacola, Florida. Hey, Lee, how's it going? Welcome to Shared Accounts.
Hey, how you doing? It's wonderful. I'm doing great.
Great. Yeah, doing good. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining.
Glad to have you. You know what, Lee, I want to point out really quick, you've been down there how long now at PenAir?
4 years.
And what do you think of Pensacola?
I love it. I tell you what, the sandy white beaches are our biggest selling point. Anytime we try to do recruiting, we just go send them pictures of the beach and say, you can
Yeah,
work from here.
Oh, wow.
exactly.
Well,
I used to live just down the road in Fort Walton Beach, but that was in the 70s. I haven't been back since, so I'm sure it's still lovely.
It's very lovely. It has changed dramatically. I will say, coming from Virginia back to Florida, I have never seen this kind of growth, at least in the last 15 years. So
Oh, I
come back
bet.
here, the growth is amazing.
Fantastic. Well, okay, Natasha and I, we're going to get right into the questions here. And Lee, I wanted to ask you really quick. As of this recording, last week, it looks like you were at GAC, yeah?
Oh, absolutely. Me and 6,000 of my closest friends.
Exactly. So I want to ask, I was there only for like a day. I had to fly in, fly out. But I want to ask, what did you think of GAC this year? What was the vibe in DC for you with everybody there, the 6,000 other people? And, did anything stand out to you compared to other GACs?
Well, other than there was a ton of people, I thought the vibe was really good. I mean, there was questions people were having about NCUA, and I give the NCUA board members credit. They were readily available. I'm part of the Defense Council, and they even come and spoke there. It's great that the NCUA board let themselves come into the GAC and really were able to answer questions and be there and let people just really see them and see that the leaders of the NCAA are still there.
Great.
Nice. Well, glad you had a good time. I did not get to go, unfortunately. It's been a while, but yeah, it's a really fun gathering since it's like the big conference of the year. So, Lee, let's go back. I wanted to ask you just about your background, just so our listeners can get to know you a little bit. Just so you know, I did look at your LinkedIn, saw your past jobs, and just wanted to get a background on you. But so it sounds like Penn Air, it appears to actually be the sixth credit union where you've served as CEO or in a C-suite position since the mid 90s. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. Wow.
I came through the industry early on taking credit unions that really no one else wanted, and they were willing to
Oh, wow.
take a chance on a young CEO or young VP to come in and work with NCUA OFR, which is state of
Oh,
Florida,
wow.
and really just kind of clean things up. So that's how I got my career started. I
Wow.
mean, it's been right at 30 years.
Wow. Oh, that
Wow.
is incredible. Now just to ask just a follow-up to that, so credit unions, no one else wanted it, that mean there were some issues with the financial health? And so you that sounds like kind of a big job for you going in and
Yeah.
getting them turned around.
Well, in '94, when I got out of college, there wasn't a lot of jobs. And so I interviewed with a CPA firm, and they were doing a fraud audit at about a $6 million credit union. They asked if I knew what a credit union was, and no, I didn't. I knew what a bank was,
Yeah,
and I've actually had interviewed
right.
with a lot of banks. And so they kind of told me what it was, and said that the NCUA OFR and the state's attorney's office were investigating this institution, and they were doing a fraud audit. Would I be willing
Hmm.
to come in as an accountant? My background is accounting and business with my degrees. And
Okay.
would I do that? And I'm like, absolutely. That's how I got started. And I worked with a
Wow.
NCUA appointed CEO for a year. And then at the ripe age of about 24, I became the CEO of that small credit union and
Whoa.
Wow.
ran it for about a year. And then that CPA firm was doing another fraud audit about a $40 million credit union in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And they told the CEO at the time, "Hey, you gotta hire this guy because he's the only one that's willing to come in and clean you up." And
Amazing.
he hired me, and I did. I came
Yeah.
in, cleaned it up. At that point, another headhunter, after about 3 years, headhunter called me about a credit union that was just unionized and asked if I would come, in and work with that, and I did, and they were about 15 million in assets, so I went through and got the books cleaned up, and we were able to, let's just say, remove the union. The union wasn't needed at that time, and the
Mhm.
union left, and so I did that, and then I was able to go to Georgia as a CEO of about a $50 million credit union. We grew it to about 180 million,
Okay.
and then went to
Wow.
Virginia as a CEO, about 200 million. And I grew it over about 8 years. I was 11 years in Georgia, 8 years in Virginia. We grew it to about 550 million. Did six mergers, grew about 6% organically a year, and then did six mergers and grew it to 550.
Wow.
And then had an opportunity to come back to Florida to PenAir in Pensacola, and I've been here right at 4 years.
Wow.
So let's
Cool.
get into PenAir, but I do want to point out your first CEO position, you were younger. How do I say this? You couldn't even legally rent a car,
No,
and you were already
yeah, I don't
CEO.
highly recommend it, but it was a it was a situation. I knew what was going on there, and the board
Yeah,
trusted me,
that's
and the
incredible.
lady who was the NCUA appointed CEO at the time told me to bring
Mhm.
my resume in, and being that I was scared of her, I did, and
Mhm.
I became the CEO the next day.
Wow.
So it worked out very well for me. I mean, I found an industry
Yeah, it
that
did.
I really love. I love the mission behind credit unions, and
Mhm.
we get in this for a different purpose than you would a straight bank. And even though our institution's got to make a profit, we are, and maybe even our members don't see us fully as a credit union. Some of them see us as their bank or their financial institution, but we are at the end of the day a credit union. So our ethics is a little different. Our morality is a little different. We see people
Mhm.
as, hey, we want to serve these members no matter what they think of us. If they think we're their community bank, that's fine. We're the credit union. We will take care of them. And
Right.
I just fell in love with the mission.
Well, let's talk about that mission, and let's talk about Penn Air, because you all are in the middle of a number of exciting developments, and one of them being a number of new branch locations that have recently opened or they're going to be opening later this year. First, kind of explain where Penn Air currently stands in its brick and mortar expansion journey.
Well, we're a little different. Our facilities, we have, if you look at our LinkedIn, we have a what we call a T1 and a T2. That's a type 1 and a type 2
Hmm.
branch facility. Our T1 is all of about 1,200 square foot. So retail inside is like 900 square foot. Our T2 is around
Okay.
2,500 square foot. So retail is about 2,000. We use technology inside. We don't have teller lines or ITMs, and we use more of a what we call like a white glove service. So members walk in, you
Hmm.
have a concierge area where we kind of meet and greet them, find out what they need, and we can take them over and help walk them through the ITM experience. We can take them to our educate, which is right behind where we meet with them, and we can educate them on how to use home banking, mobile banking, any product
Hmm.
service they want. If they need to see an MA, which is a member advisor, we have a program that we will put them in, and then the next member advisor will come in and get them. The benefit of that structure is the membership truly is seeing a person throughout the experience, but we take the 90% of all transactions are deposits and withdrawals. We take that experience, put it on the ITM where, member walks in, touch the screen, one of our
Mhm.
live tellers come in, talk to them, find out exactly what they want, and they can handle, like 98% or 99% of all transactions that a normal teller would in a more efficient manner. And
Yeah.
so it allows us then to put our resources in that one-on-one. If you need to learn about IRAs or you have an issue with your debit card or your credit card, we can fix it right there in our branches. But for us as an organization, they're so much more efficient because they're so much smaller.
Can I ask how many branches are currently being built and when they're going to
You
open?
know, we have one under construction right now in Crestview, which is in Okaloosa, which is just north of Fort Walton.
Okaloosa.
And
Yeah.
Crestview is a really strong growing area, and it will be ready to go in September 25. So we will be
Okay.
opening that in September. Fort Walton will have a June groundbreaking in Fort Walton. So it'll take about, if we're groundbreaking in June, we should be opening up probably late first quarter of 26.
Okay.
We can build them pretty quick. And then Panama City Beach, we'll do a groundbreaking in August. If it's in August, that'll be probably second quarter. We'll be opening that one up.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's interesting just listening to you talk about kind of your approach currently to your branches, because obviously just the general concept of the brick and mortar branch for credit unions has obviously changed so much over the years. And I'm just thinking back to the 90s, like when you were coming up in your career, 90s, early 2000s, the branch was just this like teller wall and, this snaking line going to the window to do basic transactions. So it's interesting how it's evolved so much. I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit about, from your perspective, going through your career, how has the role of the branch changed? And what do members need now? And how you're kind of addressing that at PenAir?
Well, members, they use the branches mainly as service centers, meaning they have a
Mhm.
situation with their checking account, their debit card, their credit card. They have questions about their IRA. They want to get certificates. They may need financial counseling or whatever it is. They really come to the branches for information to help them with their financial journey. And so
Right.
that's what we're trying to offer them is help with their financial journey. To do base deposits and transfers and withdrawals, if you look at any facility, those have kind of started drying up.
Mhm.
A branch that has 5 or 6 teller lines, they're down to 1. Our main office here, probably before we built our T2 out front or out to the side, we had probably 15 teller stations. And the 4 years I was here, we only had 1 teller at a time. So the long lines have kind of abated and they're just not coming in as much. Now, there will be areas that, you may have that type of volume and you may not want to switch to full-fledged to what we've done, but the marketplace as we knew it as growing up is totally different. Members want a white glove service, but that service is mainly to help them with issues that they have on their accounts, situations they're having with their family that, hey, they got a loved one that needs some financial help or whatever it is, and they're coming to us for information. So our team has to be prepared to walk that journey with those members to kind of give them the information they need. That way the members can make a decision based on proper information.
Right, absolutely. So let's move on to a different topic, Lee. So another development for Penn Air is that I read that you converted over to a Florida state charter, and that resulted in an expansion of membership eligibility into a number of new counties in both Alabama and Florida. So that sounds like a pretty big endeavor. So I was just kind of curious if you could tell us a little bit about that. How did that change come about? And then what did that look like behind the scenes? Like, what steps did you have to take to make that happen, and how long did it take?
Well, credit unions as a whole, the structure that we have with all the rules and regulations, it limited us to a specific field of membership. So every credit union fights a field of membership issue.
Mhm.
And so, us as a federal charter, we were always trying to find ways to allow people to become members of the credit union. And so, you're using all the federal rules, the low income, all the different designations, and trying to weave your way across the state or into Alabama to get more members because, as an institution, you have to continue growing.
Right.
So, for us to be able to convert to a state charter here in Florida, allowed us to really, Florida has a very credit union friendly field of membership rules.
Hmm.
So you're allowed to have SEGs, community, association, all in one, where the feds, you really can't do that. And so we came in, we were able to switch to a state charter. We got from Mobile County, Alabama, all the way over to Tallahassee, Leon, which is pretty much the whole panhandle.
Mhm.
Okay.
The state of Alabama allows us to add 2 counties a year. And like last year, we added Dothan, which is Houston County, and we
Hmm.
also added Escambia County, Alabama. We already had Escambia County, Florida. So we added Escambia County, Alabama. We added Dothan, which is Houston County, Alabama. So it allowed us to really kind of continue to grow in that area. So other than going in, you have in the state of Florida, again, it's a little different. The board had to vote on it, and then we had to go to the membership to vote on it to change our charter from federal to state. I stood up in front of our membership for about 2 hours, maybe longer, just
Okay.
answering questions because their main concern was the federal insurance. Well, the state of Florida does not allow private insurance or any other insurance. You have to have the government insurance.
Mhm.
Right.
So once you answered those questions, it passed without any problem.
Nice.
Nice.
Wow, yeah, I love that yeah, quite the commitment there, talking in front of just directly to the members from the CEO. I'm sure they appreciate that a lot. So,
You had to do a vote and you had to go in and, the membership was really concerned that we would lose our federal insurance. So once we
Mm.
assured them that one, we would not lose our federal insurance, the main reason for our conversion was the field of membership rules.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of reciprocity with other states around the country with Florida. And so it really does not limit us in growing into, Alabama, Georgia, or any other state as long as they have reciprocity with the state of Florida.
I think that's amazing. I don't think I've ever heard about the Alabama rule that you could expand 2 counties a year.
Well, that's what they told us. So
Oh,
I'm not sure if it's a rule, but that's what they have applied to PenAir. And
right.
so for
right.
us, it's the rule.
You go hang out in Mobile.
I know in past they've allowed credit unions to grow a little bit more, but I can understand them being somewhat protective of their
Sure,
Alabama credit unions, and that's
sure.
fine. But we do have a large presence in the Baldwin County, Mobile County
Yeah.
Right.
in Alabama,
Okay.
so
Okay.
it works out well for us.
Yeah, I just a quick follow-up to that. So first, how long has it been now since that's all been complete, that conversion and expansion? Like, how long have you been kind of enjoying the benefits of that?
Between 1.5, 2 years,
Okay, okay.
about
And
2
just
years.
curious, and I mean, over the past 1.5, 2 years, what have been kind of the biggest positive results or outcomes that you've seen from doing this expansion?
One of my big concerns when I first got here is the concentration of membership that we had in Escambia County and Santa Rosa County and Baldwin County. Baldwin
Right.
County is in Alabama. Escambia and Santa Rosa are here in Florida. We are sitting right in the middle of Hurricane Alley. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
hurricanes can come in at any time. And so my big concern was if a hurricane here, hits here in Pensacola like Sally did, it's going to affect a large number of our members. So we as an institution have to protect our members' assets. So we needed to diversify our field of membership as much as possible. One, it allows us to grow, but also to allows us to diversify where not all our members are going to be impacted by a disaster. And so it just allows us to have a little bit more flexibility as we continue to grow.
Sure. Right. Okay.
It's just like diversifying your assets.
Absolutely. For all our loans, commercial deposits, member loans, housing, all is with these 3 counties.
Yeah.
That can be a problem. So
Mhm.
it has allowed us to continue to grow. And now, and the state of Florida does limit the number of members that we can get from those non-core
Mhm.
counties every year. So you're not going to double, triple in size, but you can, as credit unions should, grow steady and
You're
grow
growing.
slower
Yeah.
and allow us to kind of diversify, but it's not overnight. So
Right.
Right.
Okay,
Okay.
let's go on to this next part, and I'm glad Natasha had those follow-up questions there because that again, we love context and visualizing what the credit union is going through. So thank you. But Lee, I want to ask about your plans in another expansion area of business and commercial banking services this year. Can you share a bit about what's coming for PenAir in that area of your business?
well, one, we have such a great commercial team. PenAir has been doing commercial accounts and commercial lending for a long period of time. When I came in, I put a little bit more emphasis on it, and we started to rebuild our program. And now, about 2 years ago, I hired a chief lending officer, Chris Funk, that came in that had a commercial background. We really started changing our commercial focus. We are still heavily consumer, which most credit unions are.
Mhm.
That's our bread and butter. But we have to do better for our members on the commercial side. We have a lot of members that have small businesses and they need capital to grow their businesses. And that's really what the credit union is here for. We're here to help all our members. So, again, we're diversifying our portfolio. That way we're not reliant only on consumer or only on mortgages,
Mhm.
that we have a reasonable amount of commercial lending and commercial deposits. Commercial deposits is a whole different animal than consumer. They keep a larger compensating type balances. So
Yep.
we're able to allow us to have a little lower cost of funds. So it's very important as a credit union to have those commercial deposits. And those members, again, they're members just like anyone else, but they own businesses. And so we want to make sure that we offer the products and services that they need to run their business.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any particular goals for this new focus area?
We do. A lot of it's just based on percentages that we grow, but I just want them to, I'd say earn their keep, but I just want them to be a solid part of this
Okay.
organization.
Yeah.
If you say like commercial bank, commercial lending makes up 80, 90% of their portfolio.
Mhm.
It's never going to do that for us. But I would like it to see, a solid 10 to 20% of our portfolio in the commercial arena. And that way it gives us a little bit more flexibility when we're looking at other areas. Plus, we do have the capital to put out there, and we participate with a lot of other credit unions on some of the bigger deals. And it allows us, we look at it as almost like economic development within our service area. There was a hotel going in, and 3 or 4 credit unions across the area can team up to handle the loan for most of them are local owners. That helps our economy.
Yep.
You got members
Mhm.
that are working at the hotels. You got tourists that are coming into those hotels or resorts. And so we need to be able to help them.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's great to hear. You're kind of coming up in that area. I know business lending and commercial lending and services are for credit unions overall. It's kind of a small portion, like when you compare it to banks overall, but it sounds like they're really growing in just in the
And
past
one
few
thing
years.
that I really like is Chris has reached down and was able to hire a gentleman, Dave Gooch, to come in and really run our commercial team. And he's doing a great job. I mean, this individual actually had been a bank president at one time, market president. So he has a lot of experience. And to get him to come in and look at our program and say, hey, this is what we should do.
Right.
You hire
Great.
professionals and let them do the job that you hired them to do.
Yeah.
Well, and
No,
also you might have some wind in your sails. Today, I was just writing about there's a bill in the House, I think it's a bipartisan bill, on the federal side to increase the business lending cap for credit unions. So,
I think it should, as long as the regulators, put on some of the regulations are you have to have like 2 to 3 years of commercial lending in a certain product before you can lend. That really needs to be a little higher. I mean, I'm probably being yelled at right now, but every commercial lender we hire has about 10, 15 plus years of experience because we want it to be a productive part of our portfolio, not a problem part of our
yeah.
portfolio.
right. Okay. Well, and speaking of hiring and finding great talent out there, I wanted to quickly ask about just the company culture at Pen Air and how you would describe that. I know it was like right after COVID, we had that great resignation. And so there was a big spotlight on finding good talent, retaining talent, and there were some challenges there. I know for credit unions, I think it's better now. So how would you describe like your leadership style, the style of other professionals in the C-suite, and how does that fit into Penair's approach to culture and what makes it a good place to work for employees?
First, you have to look at our purpose. We went back a few years ago, well, now almost 3 years ago, and we really looked at who we were as an organization, and we changed what our purpose is. Our purpose, you got mission and vision and all that, and we changed it to purpose. Our purpose is to enhance lives. That's the lives of our employees, lives of our members, and the lives of the communities that we serve. And so, out of that, enhancing lives, we look at respect, service, and community. Now, community is one of the main culture drivers here at PenAir, and that is where community and generosity mix. And it's a trademark name, so no one can take it. I got to throw that in there.
Yeah, of
Of
course.
course, yeah.
I had a lot of people ask me about community. I'm like, yeah, it's trademark.
Community. Yeah, never. That's interesting. Yeah.
They did that before I was here, so I'm glad they did
Okay.
because I'll give credit where credit due. They did a really good job, and I always look at every credit union I went to, unless it was a problem. Every credit union I went to, we're all building on the leadership that was there previously, and even though you may change things, I changed a lot when I got here. I don't change things because what they were doing wrong. I change it because it needs to be done a little differently for the market we're in, the environment we're in. But PenAir really lives and breathes the enhancing lives and the community, our respect for each other, respect for our members, and then service. And so we live this day in, day out. We have our new employee orientations, and we talk about enhancing lives and about the respect and the service and community and what it means to us. And so I will tell you, rarely do you see a group of individuals that we have here at PenAir that truly live and breathe what our purpose is. And so, like last year, it was around a little over 7,000 volunteer hours were given by our employees and our team members because they really believe in it.
Very nice. Very nice. Love that.
I love that you trademarked that word too. That's amazing.
I'm glad they did. I'm glad they did.
I know.
Like,
Yeah, people are gonna be like, "Oh, I'm gonna steal that." No, you can't.
put
They
that in my
can. They
next
just have to
slide.
pay us for it. So,
Oh, yeah. There you
Good,
go.
good. All right, Lee, I want to kind of come full circle on this first part of the interview, kind of ending where we began, which is back in DC. And I want to just kind of get your thoughts of an overview of a lot of the, I'll call it chaos that's just happening and uncertainty around things like the credit union tax status. We may know, again, as of this recording tomorrow, if it's included in the budget reconciliation. Future of the NCUA as an independent regulator, future of the CFPB, everything is kind of up in the air. And, we had the elimination of the overdraft fee reporting announced during GAC last week. How are you viewing the world? From your vantage point at PenAir, and just looking at what's happening, do you have any specific concerns or thoughts related to anything happening in those arenas?
Well, one, we have a very professional team here, and I've met with all my executives, and we talk about the different, like taxation, and say, okay, what would that actually cost a credit union? So we have a team that's my CFO is working on that, and we talked about when the CFPB was really hitting on ODP, overdraft protection or courtesy pay. Okay, if we had to change our fees and we had to do this, what would that impact? How would that impact our membership? How would it impact the credit union? And then so what they're doing in Washington or even at the state level impacts us. And what we do, we're professionals. We go in and we run the numbers to see how would that impact the institution and ultimately how's that going to impact our membership and what do we need to do at the end of the day with all the chaos is opportunity, so we have to look at it
Okay.
that way. So with chaos is opportunity, well, how can we benefit our members, the institution and our members in the unknown? And if the unknown that we can guess would happen, how would that impact us? And how, at the end of the day, can PenAir be the one standing? And so we look at it. We work with advocacy groups. We want to make sure that our voice is being heard. But at the end of the day, I think it's called preparation. And we are preparing for anything that could happen as an institution because my board of directors, volunteers, great group, they put me in charge and say, listen, we want to make sure that this institution stays strong and stays a relevant organization for our members. Well, that's my job.
Yeah.
So, I take that and I go back to my executive team and say, listen, what's out there. What can happen? Let's run the numbers. Let's see how we can take chaos or a change in whatever it is and make it benefit our members or make it not hurt our members as bad as it could.
Mhm.
And so we're doing our job by making sure that we're prepared.
Okay.
And so individuals, that if they're not being prepared for the change, it's going to hit them harder than I think it would PenAir because one, we've been preparing for it for years.
Yeah.
Again, I've been in the industry for 30 years. I've been a CEO a little over 27 of those years. Strategy is one of my things.
Absolutely.
I don't have a crystal ball, but I can sit there and pretty much see where we are as an industry and where we're going. And I want to make sure that we are prepared for whatever happens.
I
Right.
like the optimism there, if I can point that
Yeah.
out, in that you're embracing the chaos, and I would say you are a chaos half full optimist about the chaos.
Was thinking the same
Eh,
thing. Yeah, I think
yeah,
that's what people need from a leader right now for sure, is
exactly.
that it sounds like you just have this calm,
Yeah.
optimistic approach where you're prepared for things, and that's what people need to hear.
After 30 years, our obituaries have been written so many times.
Mm.
And so I look at it a little different. I'm more scared of what I don't know. So when I see the chaos and I see what's happening, I know that. So I can prepare for it. What I try to do is, one, hire the professionals, let them do their job. But I sit back and say, okay, guys, what are we not seeing? What can happen? What's not even on our radar that can happen? And
Mhm.
then, look at Canada, look at Europe, look at those credit union models and say, okay, how have they survived? How have they worked? And then we can look at it. If the CFPB, some of the changes that they were going to make, are they here? Or are they not? At the end of the day, that's for politicians to take care of. My job is to take care of PenAir and the membership here at PenAir. That's all I focus on.
Well, I love that. So, yes, I hope our listeners, if they're working at a credit union that doesn't have a CEO as, experienced as you and has those doesn't have those same words of wisdom, hopefully they can take yours today and kind of keep them in mind because I think
Everybody
that is
needs a
awesome.
Lee. Yeah.
Everyone needs a Lee, yes. Okay. All right, well, Lee, well that was awesome. Thank you so much for all those insights. We are going to move on to part 2 of our interview, which is just kind of some fun questions unrelated to work, so we can take a break from talking about the serious stuff for just a minute here.
So we can talk about football.
And football, okay.
Sure, we
Might have
can.
to I didn't write a football question, but maybe
We
we can
can
add
talk
that
No, I'm
in
about
here.
sorry.
I
We're
football.
don't
good,
know.
guys.
Maybe we'll sneak it in. Okay. So first of all, now I know we talked a little bit about kind of different states you lived in coming up through your career, but what's your hometown? Where did you grow up?
I was born and raised in Jacksonville, and I say
Okay.
Jacksonville loosely. It's actually St. Johns County
Okay.
near St. Augustine. Went to Nice High School. Always a shout out to those guys. And yes, I know Tim Tebow played football for Nice, but he never went to Nice. So
Oh,
it's a
okay.
little different there. That's my hometown area. And my immediate family still live over there.
Okay, awesome. So do you still visit and still go there regularly or?
Not regularly. I don't spend a near time because I do tell everyone the road goes both ways.
That's
Um,
correct. Yeah. I know. Give and take. Yeah.
No, but
100%.
Jacksonville's changed. It's a great area, but it has changed dramatically. I know the last time I was there, I got lost, and I'm like, okay, how do I get lost in my own hometown? Well, when you add a couple million people to it, it kind of changes.
Yeah.
Yep. It happens. Yeah.
So Lee, you've been saying counties like Santa Rosa, Okaloosa. These are counties I have not heard in decades. I used to live in Fort Walton Beach, just down the road, so I appreciate you kind of bringing back some memories with that. But having formerly lived there, and you grew up there, moved away, moved back, I want to ask: is there one thing you like and one thing you dislike about living in Florida?
Well, I love the beach area.
Okay.
I actually live about 45 minutes away because when we were talking about moving to Florida, I said, okay, I'm glad we have the sandy white beaches. The Gulf water is beyond anything you can
Oh yeah.
imagine. I went to Nassau a couple years ago, and that water is not compared to this water. This water is better.
Oh
Hmm.
wow.
The beaches are clean, the white, kind of like a granite
Hmm.
sand is just amazing. You walk on it, crushes underneath your feet, and the
Yep.
water's crystal clear. You got to love that. Now,
Yeah.
dislike is 105-degree heat in June or July.
Yeah.
That's where I miss the mountains of Virginia
Yeah.
because it never got that hot up there.
Right.
It was actually just a nice 80 degrees all the time, unless it was winter and it was 20. But
Sure. Well, hats off to the construction people building your branches this summer. You were mentioning the timeline, July, August, September or something. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're going to be so hot.
yeah, they're much smaller, so they get the roof done like very quickly.
Sure.
That way they can start going inside and
Okay, good.
get it all
Okay.
dried in. So yeah, we have a great team that's handling our facility. So I'm really happy.
Wonderful.
Nice. Yeah, for me, it's the mosquito bites that are the worst in that part of the country. I used to live in southern Louisiana, and I learned the hard way to wear bug repellent every time I go outside in early
Mhm.
evening hours. So That
Well,
can
I
be
will tell
rough.
you, Pensacola is not near as bad as Jacksonville. Jacksonville must be
Oh,
have a
yeah.
lot more water. Jacksonville, they'll carry you off. Pensacola, I hadn't had that problem here.
Okay. All right. Something else I wanted to ask you about. This is an interesting question. We've asked some different guests, and it's kind of brought up some unique hobbies and interests that people had. So, I wanted to ask you. So, if you, I know you started credit union career, very early, in your 20s, but if you had to go back in time and choose like just something completely different outside of financial services totally, what would that be? Like, was there something else that you loved as a child or a young adult that you considered as a career?
I mean, architecture or building is probably what I would be doing.
Oh, okay. Nice.
I do a lot or try to do a lot as I can with Habitat of Humanity
Hmm.
because I love building.
Hmm.
I've built houses, I've gutted houses. Normally on a weekend, I'm doing some kind of construction, so I really enjoy that. I like seeing things get finished. The architecture or building, I can
Sure.
see that. I have an accounting degree and a business degree. I never wanted to be an accountant.
Okay. Sure.
Even
Yeah,
though
fair
I'm
enough.
actually really good at it, I can
Like,
see the numbers, but I never set for the CPA. Not that I couldn't, I just didn't want to. There are
yeah.
just some things you just don't wanna do, and I just did not wanna do that.
Yeah, it's a little hard to imagine little 6-year-old Lee in bed dreaming of being an accountant.
No, actually, some of my earliest memories, I had a, box and, I would put money in and have people put money in it, and I would charge them interest. So I guess I was gonna be a banker
Oh, well,
one
there
way
you
or
go.
the
Okay.
other, so I decided not to go on the bank side, but go on the credit union side.
There you go.
Right.
Well, let's stay in your childhood a little bit because I want to ask what was the first album you ever bought or remember listening to?
The same one most people, AC/DC, Back in
Oh,
Black, was that
back
not
in
the
All
'80s?
right. Yeah.
okay.
You got Kiss about that time, that's
Yeah.
awesome, yeah.
That
Did your
was a great
parents hate
time.
that album?
Not necessarily, they just didn't listen to
Yeah.
it.
Okay. They were like, Lee, turn that down.
Hey, I'm the youngest of 4 boys, so they were more worried about my older
Oh,
brothers.
gotcha. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they were absolutely over it by that point. Incredible.
That's so
Great
fun.
pick.
Okay, Lee, final question for you today. We ask every guest this question at the conclusion of the interview. What was the last movie that you watched?
I watch a ton of movies, but I tell you, the last one that was recommended, and actually the gentleman who recommended it, he knows that me and my family, we're a little different. So, I mean, I love all the American movies, but we'll watch the South Korean movies. They
Oh,
make a
okay.
lot of action movies,
Mhm.
but I'm a Bollywood guy, and so
Oh,
I love Bollywood movies. And Animal was one of the last Bollywood movies I watched, and it was funny.
sure.
The guy that said, "Hey Lee, I know you love Bollywood. Have you seen Animal?" I'm like, "Yep." And he's like, "Oh my gosh, okay, what do you think? If you haven't seen Animal, it's worth it. It's worth it. It's a little different, but it's worth it. And
Wow.
if you don't
Okay.
like the dancing group, hey, you know what? It's Bollywood.
Exactly. That is
That is
such a
fun. That
unique
was,
pick.
yeah. Wow. That was an
And here's a
unexpected.
Florida guy, moved around all in the South, but I like Bollywood. I
That's
really do enjoy the
wonderful.
Bollywood. It's just you got to better have about 3 hours for most
Yeah,
of these movies.
that is
Yeah,
true.
it's an investment for sure. Okay. Well, that is so fun. I love that.
Oh,
All
that's
right.
great.
Well, Lee Morgan, President CEO for PenAir Credit Union. This was a lot of fun today. We had so much fun getting to know you and hearing your insights. And congratulations on all the latest moves at PenAir. And we look forward to seeing what you do next. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the invite.
Thank you, Lee.
Absolutely. And to all of our listeners, thank you so much for downloading today's show. We would love it if you would please subscribe to Shared Accounts with CU Times on all of those normal podcast places that you go to. And we would also really love it if you would share the episodes with everyone you know, your coworkers, relatives you like, relatives you don't like, whoever. Just please share it.
Yeah, and then rate us 5 stars only, please. Also, a big thank you to our producer, as always, Zach Nyheisel. Thanks, Zach. Join us again next week for a new episode of Shared Accounts with CU Times. Until then, thanks for listening.